Hi everyone, welcome to our Pilot and Feasibility Studies mini webinar series. My name is Katie Meller and today I'm talking to Professor Lahana Kabane to find out what pilot and feasibility studies are and what the difference are between them. Hi Lahana.
Thank you, Katie. Hi.
So what are pilot and feasibility studies?
All right. So for a long time, these two terms have been used interchangeably by some researchers, and for others, they've meant the same. And hopefully, by the end of our discussion today, we'll have a better sense of what they are, where they are the same, and where they are different. Yeah. So pilot and feasibility studies really are studies that we do prior to main studies. And they're usually, by definition, studies that we do on a smaller scale to assess whether we could actually successfully carry out large-scale studies. And the idea really is very simple, is to assess in general what would frame as feasibility of main studies or larger studies. And by feasibility is whether we could actually carry them out, and if so, how could we actually successfully do it?
Is there any other ways they're different from a definitive randomized controlled trial?
By definition, pilot and feasibility studies are typically smaller than the main trial. So the main difference is the scale. They're usually on a much, much smaller scale. And the other major difference between them is that they are primarily focused on assessing feasibility, while the main studies may primarily be focusing on assessing effects if they are about interventions, or looking at much more bigger clinical objectives as primary rather than assessment of feasibility.
So what different types of feasibility studies are there?
With a feasibility study, we could do a single arm interventional study where we are assessing whether we can actually implement the intervention. While in fact, the main study we're trying to inform with this smaller feasibility study is a two-arm study where we're using that intervention in comparison with some other control. So a feasibility study may not necessarily have the same design as the main study.
Okay.
While in fact, a pilot study, which is another version of assessing feasibility, could very well have a similar design as the main study, except on a smaller scale. And you're trying to really assess in totality whether the main study as designed, done on a smaller scale, could actually be achieved. So in essence, really what I'm saying is a feasibility could actually involve different forms of smaller versions that may not necessarily have the same design as the main study, while a pilot is actually almost an exact replica of the main study, except on a smaller scale, with the primary focus of assessing whether the main one could actually be feasible.
See. Hey, thank you for clearing that up, Lahana. It's been really great to speak to you, and thanks everyone for listening, and please do keep an eye on our website for future mini webinars and upcoming talks and events in the series.